Hello again, this is Jeff Rohrs with ExactTarget and author of Audience, Marketing in the Age of Subscribers, Fans, and Followers. Joined again by my friends Jay Baer, author of Utility and the Now Revolution, and Joel Book, author of many blog posts and love letters to women the world around.
Thank you,
I can
Jeff.
only imagine that's true, Joel.
A noted Lothario.
Lothario, yes. That really defines Joel Book, and I've never heard it associated. So
is that in the dictionary?
I think that's a great band name, Noted Lothario.
Noted Lothario. That
Yeah.
is Joel's. That is his Sinatra cover band.
There we go.
All right, we digress.
We digress.
We digress. We are here today in this segment to talk about the valuation of audiences for marketers. Joel, in our last segment, you had jumped on this and started talking about lifetime customer value. That's something that traces its roots back a very long time. I was just rereading The One-to-One Future by Peppers and Rogers, and that's kind of a core concept in their book.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain for folks who might not be familiar with lifetime customer value, how you calculate it, and why that's an important metric for you in marketing?
Sure. Lifetime value, or LTV for the direct marketers in the audience, is one of the metrics that is typically used by direct marketers to place a value on not just the current value of a customer based on products they have purchased to date, but it's to project the value of that customer to the brand over his or her lifetime relationship with you. But it goes back to the point that I made in the last segment, and that is, as we look at an audience as being a portfolio, it's really important, I think, today to really look at that portfolio much like an investment manager would look at a portfolio of investments. It's not something to just set it and forget it. It is something that requires nurturing. And if you're going to really maximize the lifetime value of an audience member, you really have to make a fundamental commitment to serving them. And so in this era of one-to-one marketing, serving has become the new selling. And the brands that do that better, as Jay has accurately observed in his book, Utility, the brands that do that better are the ones that are not just surviving, they're thriving.
Okay. Let's unpack that a little bit, Jay. So lifetime customer value, LTV, LCV, there are a lot of different acronyms for it. What I point out in the book, though, is what a lot of marketers are missing is calculating the value of their audience according to the LCV. So the back of the napkin math I share is if you have 1 million email subscribers, you determine that the LCV of an email subscriber is $3 compared to a non-subscriber, it's $3 more.
Right.
Then you've got that $3 delta, 3 times 1 million, you've got a $3 million asset.
Yep.
But I find that a lot of marketers aren't talking about it in terms of the overall aggregate asset value of audience. Are you seeing anything different? And if not, what's holding people back?
Well, I think what holds them back primarily is that they don't know that it's $3, right? They don't have the ability, or they haven't taken the steps, or they haven't put in the effort to understand what that audience is worth at the individual audience member level, so they can't do the 3 times 1 million because they don't know the 3. Because it's hard, and it is especially hard if you're not an online business, if you don't have visibility into the transaction layer. You can get at LTV and you can get at some of those metrics, but it requires some real work, and frankly, a lot of organizations are pedaling so fast right now just to keep up with all the fundamental changes in marketing technology, like, it's too much effort, and we're just going to stipulate to the fact that this is good at some level, but they just can't put numbers around it. Do you see something different?
Well, I don't see something different in terms of what you just said, but the thing that's different today are the brands that do get that. Yeah. I referenced in an earlier episode of this series Scott's Miracle-Gro. Now, Scott's has been a long-standing client of ExactTarget. One of the things I appreciate about Scott's is their fundamental commitment and passion to serving the members of their audience. Yeah. Today, Scott's has, for their email newsletter, which is called Lawn Care Update, close to 2 million active subscribers. Their own research, this comes back to the point Jay was just making. Scott's clearly understands the value of that audience member. Their own research indicates that a subscriber to Lawn Care Update uses 1.5 times more Scott's products than a non-subscriber. What Scott's has done in the building of their database, their audience, Jeff, has created an asset that now gives them that ability to really be able, when they turn the knob by distributing Lawn Care Update, to drive traffic to their retail partners like the Walmarts, the Lowe's, the Home Depots of the world. and this is my personal opinion, a brand that controls their audience the way that Scott's does, the way that P.F. Chang's does, the way that American Express does, these are the brands that now have tremendous leverage in terms of their ability to really drive purchase.
You said the perfect thing, Joel, which is that their own research tells them that the average lawn care update subscriber, a member of that audience, applies 1.5 times more Scott's product than non-subscribers. And the key there is their own research, because Scott's doesn't sell direct.
They don't.
You can't go to their website and say, Miracle-Gro, add to cart. They sell through a number of retail channels, and so the only way they can get at that lifetime value, that they can actually calculate the value of that audience, is to survey their people and say, how much do you use versus somebody who doesn't, and come up with that. And that requires real effort. I mean, one of the challenges I think we have in marketing today, just across the board, is that we are surrounded by data, but we are often starved for insight. Right? The data is they have 2 million subscribers. The insight is that the subscribers use 1.5 times more. And a lot of times you've got to work at insight, but we're surrounded, data just gets pushed to us all the time. And many companies, I think, Jeff, the real fundamental problem is that they just stay at the data level and don't get at the insight level.
I think that's very, very well said. We have all this conversation around big data. I'm more concerned with big insight.
Yeah, what does data do?
But Scott's is a really good example, though, of a brand that cares enough to do the hard work. It's not like email is the only channel they use to engage consumers.
Not at all.
They do everything, up to and including sponsorships of Major League Baseball.
And they have a great mobile program.
And let me interrupt there, because I don't want people to think that there aren't baby steps to get there, because Scott's and others don't come to that number on the first try. There are a lot of different steps that we can do. So other valuation models, I've heard you talk about it, I talk about several in the book, but one of them is kind of the comparative advertising model, right? What would you be paying to reach this audience if you had to pay for it? Now, that's kind of scientifically imprecise, but if I know the CPM of a given email list rental, or the CPM to reach a social audience, I can now apply that against the number of fans, the number of followers, the number of subscribers that I have, to get an actual economic value that I can communicate up to leadership to say, look, I'm building an asset that we'd otherwise have to pay a premium for.
Well, that's been the long-standing conundrum. I've been in marketing 37 years, but I will tell you, from day one of the very first rules of marketing that I learned is that it costs anywhere from 5 to 10 times as much to acquire a new customer as it does to retain and grow an existing customer. So where would you rather employ the effort? Jay's made the accurate observation that for years we've been talking about the value of delivering the right offer to the right individual at the right time. We are right now at the best possible place in the evolution of marketing that we ever have been, because now we have this ability to leverage data at the customer level, harness that with marketing automation technology to deliver content on an individualized basis to every member of our audience, thereby growing lifetime value.
Long-standing conundrum should also be a band name.
That is a band name.
We should make that happen.
That'll be a jam band.
Yes.
So I want to follow up on another point. In the social realm, we're beginning to get some data that we can apply to value audiences in new ways.
Right.
So you I'm sure have been hit with this at the end of presentations. I've been hit with it, Joel. You've probably been
How
hit
much
with
is
it.
my Facebook fan worth?
Bingo. How much is my Facebook fan worth?
Yeah.
I had an epiphany the other day that their new product, Custom Audiences, lets us get at that number if you've got a really robust email subscriber base.
That's right.
So for those who aren't familiar, can you tell them a little bit about what Custom Audiences is?
Custom Audiences is a relatively new offering from Facebook that allows you to upload an email list, your email list that you actually have rights to, and then advertise on Facebook only to people whose email addresses match.
Or lookalikes.
Or lookalikes, that's right. Now, some businesses are wary of that, thinking, well, what's Facebook going to do with these email addresses? And that's a different topic for another day. But the notion that you can then take an audience that you have developed and reach that audience in multiple different ways using email address as the unique identifier, I think is very, very powerful and very interesting. And then if you know what an email subscriber costs you, and or you know what an email subscriber yields for you, you can then take some of those same calculations, apply them to your Facebook program, and as you suggest, build an equivalency model that starts to give you a sense for, well, okay, what is this audience worth, not just in the area where we acquired them, email, but what could they be worth across other channels?
Right.
But that requires, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it goes back to what you just pointed out. Simply using custom audiences to attract new people to your brand is not a strategy unless the people running your social media strategy are in the same room as the people running your email strategy.
And Joel, you're hitting upon something important. There are two things I want to unpack there. One is that collaboration is going to be huge, and in our next segment, we're going to dig in on that. The other one is, if I now can run custom audiences, and I know that these Facebook fans are also email subscribers,
yes,
and then I can look and know that these Facebook fans these email subscribers are not Facebook fans, I now can figure out the Facebook delta.
Yes, you can.
I can figure out the value of a Facebook fan relative to my particular brand.
Absolutely.
And I think that is a critical point, because we've seen a lot of headlines. Facebook fans worth $171,
right.
Or I've even seen one, Twitter followers worth X. All of that's a load of bunk if you're not calculating it for yourself. And in the book, I try and give a whole bunch of really, easy, quick, leap of faith kind of calculations, because my message to marketers, and I think it's our shared message, is don't avoid doing something because it's hard.
Right.
Put yourself on a path where you're going to get increasingly accurate, more accurate information as you evolve the conversation, because I believe that if we start talking about audiences as assets and we can put a number around the value of this audience, we're going to have a lot better behaviors in marketing. We're going to have a lot, we're going to be able to stand up to the VP of sales at the end of the quarter when they want us to blast or they want us to send nothing but promotional messages. We're going to be able to invest better people and budget in acquisition strategies, and we're probably going to get more respect and hopefully, better career opportunities, because we're now controlling literally a fiscal asset in the company, as opposed to just being the folks who push buttons on campaigns.
I could not agree more. What I will say as a caveat to that is that is going to require today's generation of marketer and the people that are in school planning to enter this profession to learn the fundamentals of direct marketing, because everything you just talked about in terms of evaluating the individual customer and really doing the kinds of things that are going to ratchet up lifetime value over time, those go back to the fundamentals of direct marketing, which in my opinion are sorely lacking in the rank and file marketing professional today.
Everything, because of social, is really direct marketing.
It is.
In a lot of ways, because it brings it right back to...
Well, and I think understanding testing and design of experiments, right? I mean, as our friend Tom Webster from Edison Research taught me years ago, he frames this up really well. He's like, look, what you want to do as a marketer is seek to prove yourself wrong, not to prove yourself right. Because if you're always trying to prove yourself right, you'll find a way to make yourself right. He said what good marketers do and what dispassionate marketers do is they set up circumstances where they try to prove that this is not a good idea, that this is not an effective program. And if you can't prove it's bad, it must be good. And that's really the right way to think about it. But that's not the way people are taught in school, and that's not the way most marketers behave.
And we need to change that.
So talking about marketer behavior, our next segment, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about organizing the marketing team, collaboration within the marketing team to build these audience assets. Join me again?
Absolutely.
If you insist.
We'll be back.